everyone. Welcome to another Data Vault Q&A brought to you by Iris, the best Data Vault automation for a modern data platform. I am Julien Redmond, and once again, I'm joined by Nols Ebershon, my esteemed colleague. Hi, Nols.
Hi, Julien.
All right, I have another question for you today. It's a very short one, but I think actually it's quite a long explanation, so we'll see how this goes. What are the three categories of business rules?
Excellent question. So with the publication and release of the Data Vault 2.1 classes, there's been a couple of refinements and extensions to the content and what's being made available as part of the certification. And one of those extensions is a new category of business rules have been introduced for more clarity within the Data Vault architecture. So we've all been familiar with the hard rules, those rules that we apply to allow the data to be processed.
Yeah.
And so it does not change the content, it does not change the values, it simply allows us to deal with that data and process it. Whether that requires some normalization, denormalization, untangling, organizing, whatever is necessary, but the content never changes. That's hard rules. Soft rules has always been the second category, and soft rules is where we change the data, the context, the grain, we calculate something new. Because your data that arrives from your source system looks like Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
You know what Swiss cheese looks like, right?
Full of holes.
Lots of holes. And so your data has lots of holes in it. And so what we needed to do with the soft rules is then to go and calculate those missing bits, approximate what those things should have been in the first place, and we make that available in Business Vault so that when the business gets their cheeseburger, it's a full slice of cheese and they don't feel hard done by. So,
I hear Swiss cheese is nice though.
Oh, it's very tasty. There's nothing wrong with the taste. It's just expectations.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to the third category of rules, it now recognizes that there is a set of rules that are absolutely bespoke to the functionality, to the actual consumption of the data. You know, things like a drill hierarchy in a report. It's a functional rule. The business say, I want my report and I want to be able to drill from division to department to team to individual operator. So that drill hierarchy is a functional rule. All of those identifies those business keys would exist in your data. But with that hierarchy is for that report and that report only. And so functional rules is operating in the information delivery zone as those use case specific requirements in delivering the data, which would include things like security, which would include things like filters and aggregates, which would basic statistics, things that are readily available, things like navigation sensitive ratios. So these are all functional rules as to how that thing will behave, and only that thing. Another information mart, another report will have a different set of functional rules, but they're no less rules than the other set of rules we already discussed. But they are bespoke to the use case, to that specific report. Now, you can't go and define that as a one size fits all, because each one of those behaviors can be diametrically opposed to each other. And so this functional rule set is essentially quarantined for the consumption for the information delivery. And so recognizing that as a set of rules that needs to be managed, tracked, implemented, delivered to, then gives you a much more consistent, complete view across the landscape, across the architecture as to what you would expect to see where. In essence, these functional rules do not create in and of themselves new insights. Okay, you know, you can say a ratio or something like that could be considered a new insight, but it's always navigation sensitive. So it's always dependent on the user. So in those cases, those ratios, if they are that important, if it was an important ratio like capital adequacy, for a bank or for a wealth or management organization, those ratios are not navigation sensitive. I can tell you that much. And so from that perspective, those type of insights, those type of enterprise insights will be in Business Vault as if it's calculated, or in Raw Vault if it was supplied. typically it's calculated. And so that type of ratio, we're not talking about that type of ratio. We're talking about those consumption usage elements as such. So the HR data has a very different security context, right? To say the sales data.
Yeah.
And so from that perspective, you will have different rules. And those security requirements are a set of rules.
Yeah.
They're what we now call functional rules in the overall rule landscape. So those are the three categories that are now being put forward in the Data Vault specification, so that you have clarity as to what happens where. So the hard rules happens before Raw Vault.
Yeah.
Nowhere else. The soft rules is what drive the contents of Business Vault.
Yeah.
And the functional rules are dictated by the actual use cases and the consumption, the information delivery mechanisms that are being exposed to your community of users. And so those functional rules are bespoke to that use case.
I think it's a really good clarification. It kind of feels a little bit like, if you lost the consumption rules, the functional rules, you could always recreate them because you haven't lost any data. But if you lost a big soft rule, you might be in trouble, And
exactly.
So a good clarification.
And those soft rules being shared, being available centrally in Business Vault means that everyone that consumes that data gets to the same answer.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to trying to embed that soft rule in any number of different downstream consumers, and they do a different job or a different mechanism and they get different answers. And then we have fisticuffs at the board level as to whose number is right.
Well, yeah, you're right, because definitely with the power of some of the BI tools, you can do some pretty hefty calculations at that end, but as you say, you shouldn't, because you'll end up with discrepancies and inaccuracies and conflicts. Yeah.
And then obviously, as the rules change over time, where is the evidence of the previous version of the rule if it's embedded in an information mart? And if you change a rule that builds an information mart, you have to drop and recreate. And so there is no audit trail for those past insights. And so now you have an audit mess on your hand. You have a compliance mess on your hand. You have an accuracy and consistency mess on your hand. And that's why Business Vault is so central, particularly as a key enabler of the self-service BI analytics landscape.
Yeah.
It's a key enabler. Without Business Vault, self-service is impossible.
Yes. Well, it feels like it's probably going to be even more important as people use, AI-driven, analytics.
Oh, absolutely.
Deliver me the actual calculated value rather than something that you calculate on the fly that, may or may not be true. So.
And as the data changes, as more information becomes available, the AI will not give you reliably the same answer that it gave you a couple of weeks, a couple of days, a couple of months ago. And then you have no evidence for the decisions that you put forward. So Business Vault is a critical enabler in this landscape to make sure the evidence on which you made your decisions are there as an audit trail to keep you out of jail. Literally and figuratively speaking.
Yeah. Well, yes, that's true, isn't it? Now, listen, a little pat on your back as well, because I know you did a lot of work with Dan and Cindy on clarifying this part of what went into the 2.1 update. So, well done on that. And, I think good deep dive. If you want to know more about this topic or any of the other topics in the Data Vault Q&As, you can reach out, and we'd love to have a chat and help you on your Data Vault journey. And of course, as always, if you've got a question, a question's burning in the back of your brain that you think Nols might be able to answer, then send it our way, and we'll challenge him with it next time. Nols, thanks for joining again.
Thank you, Julien.